back to the channel, guys. It's Hollywood here. On today's video, we are going to be discussing, can you start out on a 600cc motorcycle? And I guess you can throw in 1000cc as well, but today's main focus is like 600, since like that's usually the next bike people go to after like a 250, 300, 400, whatever the case may be. So starting right into it, excuse me, jumping right into it. But I'm going to talk about the bike that I started out on and like my background. So like I started out on an FZ07. I had very little to no experience jumping into this. Like I rode a dirt bike maybe a handful of times, and it wasn't even nothing serious. It was like I stayed in one gear basically, but you know, I tried to switch gears, but that scared me too much at the time to even think about doing that. I've always had like pretty good balance on my feet. I've always have had pretty good hand-eye coordination and doing things like multitasking basically. So like I've always had a pretty knowledgeable understanding of like riding a bicycle, like a pedal bike, and having my balance, stuff like that. So that kind of played a part into getting my first bike. So yeah, FZ07, it's a pretty good middle ground bike. I would say it was a great starter bike because the power delivery isn't there until you're like 4th or 5th gear and you're like full pin throttle back. Like the power delivery is very terrible on that bike, which in my opinion makes it a great starter bike because technically it's not even classified as a 1000 or 600. It's like a 698. I'll have to look up the CCs to be specific, but yeah, man, it was a great first bike. I loved it. And then after I got that, I got my 2011 BMW, which those bikes are on the channel. You have to go really far back to find them. So next on the list, we're going to talk about like different riding techniques. Everybody knows you have offensive riding and you have defensive riding. So, you know, in a car, I can't even really gauge on, I guess you're more offensive in a sense, but on a bike it's more defensive. Like you are really defending yourself in traffic. You're driving for other people, right? And you're also driving for yourself. So if you can't multitask, then you shouldn't even be on a motorcycle to begin with. But I'm not saying you can't learn, but it's like you want to learn how to, you know, in a parking lot somewhere first before you just jump onto a bike. The next topic is kind of like just riding in general, and like just respecting the power. Like if you know, like, okay, let's just say you have no background or knowledge of riding bikes before and you're jumping on the 600 for the first time, as long as you understand that motorcycle can, at the twist of a throttle, it can dump you on your ass, I think that really puts a little fear into people's hearts and just learn different things. And this goes back into techniques as far as like throttle control, clutch control, the foot brake and stuff like that, which in the last video I uploaded is how to ride a motorcycle. You'll see in there I'm talking about throttle control and stuff like that. So like as long as you have a good understanding of the more throttle you give this bike once the clutch is out, the more you're going to go, I think the faster you'll understand of how everything works together, and you can kind of realize, okay, this is nothing to play with in the first place. And then once you get on the street, it's definitely nothing to play with. Like this is your life and other people's lives on the line. And I think that, like I said, it just really strikes fear into a rider's heart, knowing, you know, this is how much throttle I got, and if I give it, if the bike's going to move. The less I give it, the less the bike is going to move, right? Just touching back on respecting the power. Let's just say you did start on a 250. You know, those bikes are a lot more forgiving. You can just dump the throttle, and depending on how much you weigh, you're probably not going to wheelie that bike, and you're not going to go very far. You might, it's enough to scare you, obviously, if you have no experience at all, but like it's not enough to really launch you 150 feet down the road, you know what I mean? So like I said, if you respect the power, once you swing a leg over this motorcycle, you understand, alright, I can die at any moment once I'm on this bike. But also, if I respect this machine, the machine is going to respect me. So like, you know, you're not just like 100% just giving it throttle and whatnot. Like, you're easing onto the throttle, you're slowly letting out the clutch, and you're like combining those two things together to get moving. I think you can, you know, do whatever you want. You can start on 200, 250. You You start on a little 50cc dirt bike, pocket rocket, whatever you want to start on, as long as you respect said power. Now, a lot of times these newer bikes, they have different power modes. So like, I feel like you can get a 600 to start out on and put in the lowest power modes that they have on the bike. Now, depending on the 600 you get, it might be a little bit older, they might not have power modes, but at the same time, like I said, if you have good throttle control, good clutch control, you have a general understanding of the bike's power and capabilities, you're going to be all set. But let's just say you get like a newer 600, I don't even know what these 600s have nowadays. Let's just say you put in the lowest power mode that's possible. You're going to like really appreciate not having that much power. Obviously, you know, we're not out here trying to run away from the cops and do crazy stuff. You know, you are a beginner rider, you don't know much, you're trying to get your bearings essentially. So I feel like if you put in the lowest power mode and combine everything else on this list, you're gonna be straight, man. Like, there's nothing to really worry about. And I hate people, you know, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, you know what I mean? But like, it's very annoying when people say, oh, you can't start on a 600, you have to get a 250. Okay, but you don't know anything about that guy. Maybe he's a fast learner like me. I started on a F07. I'm a very fast learner. I watched a couple YouTube videos and then went out and applied what I learned onto the street. I mean, it's not that hard. It's not rocket science. As long as you keep it simple, stupid in your mind, you'll never have to worry about anything else in life being super hard. Just keep it simple. It's literally clutch, throttle, and that's it. And then obviously, you know, you just have to add your gears into there, but that's not really, like, especially if you're just going to a parking lot to learn and not really doing a whole lot of street riding, you don't have to worry about gears. But clutch and throttle, that's all you need. Is like, say, a parking lot anyways, to really hone in on your technique of throttle control and clutch control. Yeah, man, like I said, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but it's just too much information on the internet saying, oh, you can't start on a 600, like, you need to follow my steps and my tutorial, my guide, you know, like, start on a 250, then get a 300, then get a 400. Man, by the time you go through all those bikes, you're gonna have spent so much money on bikes. You could have been bought a 600. It has, and put it in the lowest power mode there is, and been totally fine. So that kind of brings me into my next topic, as far as like, okay, let's just say you do get a 250 or a 6. Let's just say you get a 600, right? Brand new, 2024 Kawasaki 636, and you damage the bike, right? Me personally, I feel like you will, especially, I mean, I'm under the assumption that you're going to put insurance on the bike, okay? So depending on how bad you scuff up the bike, or like you like low side or high side, whatever the case would be, insurance is going to take care of it, man. It's going to be okay. If they total the bike out, you can get another one, all right? Bikes are replaceable, you are not. So that's why I'm saying, like, you can start on a 600 as long as you have insurance. I mean, I don't think there's really much to worry about. I mean, obviously, you know, you need gear, all those good things. So like, you gotta keep all that in mind when you're going to buy a bike in the first place. You need to calculate gear in there as well. Helmet, jacket, gloves, pants, boots maybe, or riding shoes, whatever you want to ride in. Not really trying to focus on the flashier things, like, oh, I gotta get Dainista gear. Like, man, this is beginner stuff, man. You just start out in beginner gear. Like, not saying get like the cheapest gear possible, to get like Core-Tech and like stuff like that, the stuff that they sell at motorcycle shops, not crap you see on eBay. But yeah, going back to damaging the bike, not only, so like, let's just say you get a 250, right, and you wreck it, or you low side, or you high side, it's going to be very hard to fix that bike and resell it. I know, I'm not saying that people aren't in the market for 250s that are wrecked and stuff like that, but I believe that there's more of a market for people that want to buy like wrecked 600s, because people do like stunt builds and stuff like that. So like, not saying you can't get, like, and obviously let me just throw this out there, you getting the same exact dollar amount that you pay for the bike back is completely off the table. That's never going to happen unless you buy it one day on a Monday and then you sell it on a Tuesday, right? That's the only time you can do that, maybe. but at the same time, if you drive anything off the lot, it's going to depreciate anyways. But it's going to be a lot harder to resell the 250, right? Because not a whole lot of people are looking to buy 250s. Now 600s, that's like a really good middle ground place to start that people often do start at nowadays. Like, I remember back in the day, a lot of people did start out on 250s, but you know, everyone kind of got away from that stigma of like, oh well, you have to start on the 250 because the 600 is going to kill you, it's going to put you in the grave. I mean, like I said, if you have good throttle control, good clutch control, and like you have a general understanding of the bike's capabilities, I think you'll do just fine on a 600. But yeah, like kind of like to pretty much wrap up the video, man, do not listen to others. Now, I'm not saying don't listen to your parents if you live with your parents, or don't listen to your wife, or don't listen to your girlfriend, whatever. Obviously, if you have no understanding of the bike, like you have nothing, you don't even know where to start. Me personally, I would recommend getting a 250 or a 300, maybe even a 400 to just learn on. Spend your first 6 months to a year learning on that bike. And it's okay to drop it, whatever. It's okay to do whatever to it. And once you feel comfortable, sell that bike and get a 600. And then if you feel comfortable within 2 weeks, that's on you. No one can tell you how you feel on said bike in however amount of time is allotted, right? So like, if you get your bike and you learn super fast in a month because you got the bike when it has 0 miles, and in a month you let's say you put freaking 5,000 miles on it. Okay. You put 5,000 miles on in a month. I mean, that's a lot of seat time, you know what I mean? Like, no one can tell you, oh, you didn't learn it, oh, you haven't learned anything, you haven't learned anything. That's a lot of seat time, and 1 month, 5,000 miles, that's a lot. So yeah, man, like, I know there's a lot of videos on YouTube, and I know I'm just adding to the mix with my YouTube video, but really just listen to your gut, man. If you go and looking at 600s and you're like, man, I know I'm not going to behave, I know I'm not going to learn well, I'm a slow learner, I need to have a little bit extra time with getting my bearings, listen to your gut, man. Go get a 250, something under a 600. But if you're like, you know what, I'm a fast learner, I'm pretty responsible, I have a little bit of base knowledge of, like, I mean, YouTube videos can be somewhat base knowledge because I did the same thing. I'll say go for it, man. Get you a 600. It's whatever you feel comfortable on. But also, I do know another reason people get 250s and stuff like that, because I think they sit a lot lower just due to the tire size. And I think some 600s sit a bit taller. Which kind of goes for the same thing for the 1000 class. Like, I know BMW's supposed to be sitting relatively tall, but I think that's just because of the tire size. I know when I got this bike, it had a 200 on it, and I was tippy-toed it, and it had about maybe half a tire left. I couldn't even imagine if it had a full 200 tire on there. Yeah, man, like I said, just go with your gut, stick to what you know, and you'll do just fine, man. Alright, guys, that's going to wrap up the video. If you did enjoy the video, hit like, comment, subscribe, share. And follow me on TikTok, even though I don't post on there anymore. It's Hollywood V2. Follow me on Instagram. It's Hollywood 24/7. Keep chasing greatness. Never get caught in the rain, even though I already did. Wear your gear, ride safe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace. Woo! Talk to him, baby. Talk to him, Metropos. Yes, sir.